Hello everyone, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to another lesson in our ongoing French course. In the next couple of lessons, we are going to go back to prepositions of location, learning how to express spatial relationships in French with prepositions of location. In this lesson, we are going to look at the very important preposition près de, which means close to. This is a word that you will very likely use often in spoken French. So let's practice to help make it part of your active vocabulary. Près de, close to. So the simplest way to use près de is followed by a noun, close to something or someplace. So let's look at a bunch of examples here. For example, if I want to say close to the border, border as in the border between two countries. So the border in French is la frontière. So close to the border would be près de la frontière. Près de la frontière. Close to the border. How about close to the station? Station as in train station. So remember, train station is la gare. So put that together with près de, and you have près de la gare. Près de la gare. Close to the bank. The bank, la banque. So close to the bank. Près de la banque. Près de la banque. Here's a nice one, the beach. For me anyway, I really like the beach. So close to the beach. The beach is la plage. So près de la plage. Près de la plage. Close to the beach. The window. Close to the window. Près de la fenêtre. Près de la fenêtre. Notice that the nouns in all of these examples are grammatically feminine, so they all take la. Let's take a look now at some nouns that will take the L apostrophe. Remember, these can either be grammatically masculine or grammatically feminine. So in this case, close to the island, the word for island is l'île. So close to the island would be près de l'île. Près de l'île. Close to the island. Airport. Remember, airport is l'aéroport. L'aéroport. So close to would be près de l'aéroport. Keep in mind that airport has 4 syllables. So the first one is a, the next one is e, then ro, and then port. Students sometimes have difficulty with this word, so remember the 4 syllables. A, e, ro, port. Aéroport. Aéroport. So close to the airport, près de l'aéroport. Close to the hotel, l'hôtel. So close to the hotel, près de l'hôtel. Près de l'hôtel. Close to the hotel. The university. University is l'université. So close to the university, près de l'université. Près de l'université. And then finally we have the school, l'école. So close to the school would be près de l'école. Près de l'école. Next we have words that are all grammatically masculine. So they'll take the definite article le. And remember that de and le combined to form du. So all of these are going to have du. Instead of près de, it'll be près du. Près du. So downtown is, or the city center, le centre-ville. So close to downtown, close to the city center. Près du centre-ville. Près du centre-ville. Remember, this du is a representation of it's a contraction of de and le together. So a representation of de and le together. Du. Près du centre-ville. Close to the wall. The word for wall is mur. So we have près du mur, close to the wall. The train. The train is le train. So close to the train, the de and the le contract, so we have du. Près du train. près du train. The word for lake is le lac, so close to the lake would be près du lac, près du lac. Close to the building is le bâtiment, so de and le contract, du, près du bâtiment, près du bâtiment. Okay, so in a complete sentence, you'll have this formula, not just the près de and the noun. Before près de, you'll have a noun and a verb. So the something is close to the something, so to speak. So let's go ahead and look at some examples. If I want to say, the book is close to the lamp. You're looking for the book. You ask me, where's the book? I say it's close to the lamp. Notice how nice close to is. I just mention close to, and I say the lamp, and instantly you know where the book is, right? So in French, let's start with close to, which is près de. The book, le livre. So now we need our verb. Le livre est près de, and all we need is the lamp. La lampe. Le livre est près de la lampe. And there you have a very nice, beautiful, complete sentence in French. How about another one? The chair is close to the sofa. So we'll start off with the chair. La chaise. The chair is. La chaise est. The chair is close to. La chaise est près de. And all we need is the word for sofa. Remember, the word for sofa is le canapé. And remember that de and le together contract to du. So we have la chaise est près du canapé. And then again, there you have another very nice, very beautiful, complete French sentence. Let's finish up with one more example here. The bus stop is close to the school. The bus stop is close to the school. So we'll start off with the bus stop, which is l'arrêt de bus. L'arrêt de bus. The bus stop is l'arrêt de bus est. The bus stop is close to. L'arrêt de bus est près de. And then finally, the word for school, l'école. L'arrêt de bus est près de l'école. And there you have a very nice, very beautiful, very complete French sentence. And so we come to the end of another lesson in our ongoing French course. Remember, you can find this entire French course under our playlists, under binge-worthy French course, if you want to watch all of the lessons in order. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this helpful, I would appreciate it very much if you'd give it a like. Maybe consider giving it a hype. Subscribers, thank you so much for your support. To go to another lesson, click on the video that appears here on your screen. See you soon. À bientôt.